Thomas Partey. Of course, at the time of recording, he's got about 5 or 6 days left on his contract. There's been rumours in the past week that it's looking like he's not going to sign a new deal. He will be leaving as a free agent. There have been discussions with his camp. Arsenal confirmed that when they confirmed their released and retained list, but doesn't look like there's been a breakthrough. So, firstly, from what you know of the Partey situation, is it now looking inevitable that he's going to leave at the end of June?
I wouldn't say it's inevitable. No, I think there's still, I think something will need to happen fairly quickly in terms of a bit of a breakthrough. The sort of impasse that they're at the moment when it comes to these talks. These talks have been going on for a while. I think both sides were hoping that they would have come to agreement, a good couple of weeks ago. That hasn't happened, and you do start to get the sense the longer that goes on that the bigger possibility, obviously, that he's going to end up leaving. But I wouldn't sit here now and use the word inevitable. I think there's still a chance that he signs, but obviously someone's going to have to back down, whether that be Arsenal, whether that be Partey side, when it comes to the sort of numbers that they're talking about right now. At the moment, no one seems to be willing to do that, but it is all still a bit of a game of cat and mouse at this stage as well. The preference for both sides is still to stay. Thomas Partey ideally would like to stay in London, stay at Arsenal. He's happy here. His family's happy here. So Arsenal ideally would keep him for at least another year, which makes sense because of Jorginho's gone, Zubamendi's coming in, and it's good to have Partey still around. But they haven't been able to come to an agreement yet, and these talks have been going on a long, long time. So yeah, it's looking more likely, I suppose, now that he probably will go. But I definitely wouldn't say it's inevitable. There's still a chance that a compromise will be reached. But yeah, the clock is certainly ticking.
Yeah, certainly is. And you mentioned the numbers there. Of course, I think he's currently on about £200,000 a week, and there's been claims that he is looking for a pay rise to actually sign a new deal, which from his side you can understand because it's going to be his last, likely one of his last big contracts. Just turned 32. But from Arsenal's side, of course, he is in the second half of his career. Had a great season last season, stayed virtually injury free, but with his past record, you never know when the next fitness problem is going to come with Thomas Partey. So, if he doesn't back down, or if his camp don't back down, in terms of what they're asking for, money wise, will Arsenal have made the right decision not to give him a pay rise and let him go for free, in spite of how good he was last season?
I think so. I don't think you can justify a pay rise for him. Like you said, I can understand why him and his people are sort of pushing for that. It is big contract, last contract. He's probably got big offers from elsewhere, which include nice hefty signing on fees and all that sort of stuff because he's a free transfer. But from an Arsenal point of view, for the reasons you just sort of mentioned, he's 32 now. He's got a big injury record that, although last year his availability was good, that big injury record you can't really ignore. His minutes, as long as everyone stays fit and the plan works, are going to drastically reduce this season as well because of Zubamendi's arrival. So how can you give someone who's already one of the highest earners at the club a pay rise on top of that? It just, from a business and football point of view, it just doesn't really make sense. So I think they're probably making the right decision, but I can certainly understand the argument of people who really like Thomas Partey and how important he is to Arsenal and look at it and think, well, it's still, it's going to be a big blow to lose him. He played really well last season. Zubamendi's going to need time to bed in. You've got a perfect guy there who knows exactly how to play that role, which is a really difficult role to play in a team. And so it makes sense to keep him. So I can see both sides of the argument, but I think purely when you look at the numbers, I think it's very hard to justify a pay rise for Thomas Partey.
A really difficult situation, not just because of how well he played last season, but like you said, Jorginho is also going. Zubamendi will soften the blow, but then you're still down a number six from last season. There have been a couple of players linked in recent days. Brentford's Christian Norgard, Sevilla's Lucien Aguim. Either one of those you could see maybe working at Arsenal or coming to fruition in the next sort of couple of months.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have any information on that, on those two myself in terms of whether that's sort of legit, the links with them. It's very interesting how completely different both are. It's like if Arsenal are looking at both of those, it certainly shows again that Andrea Berta's juggling a few plates when he's looking at potential arrivals because he got two players completely different in terms of age range and everything. If they're going to replace Thomas Partey, if he does end up going, I would go down the route of signing a younger player, I think, than a Norgard. I could see the argument for someone like Norgard. as sort of cover, and Premier League ready, proven, knows the game, has very good availability, or has had very good availability at Brentford. But I think this is a time when you could sort of bring in a youngster, or a young, not an 18-year-old, but a younger player like Agum, thinks 23, isn't he, at Sevilla, and you can sort of bed him in. He won't demand the minutes that some players would. You can develop him. It's kind of like another Sambi Lokonga type situation almost, but hopefully it works out better than it does with Sambi Lokonga. So they definitely need to sign someone if Partey goes. There's no doubt about it in my mind. You can't lose Jorginho and Partey in the same summer and only bring in Zubimendi. So someone has to come in. I think a sort of young player, that sort of age between 20, 23, 24, fits the bill more than an older player for me.
Yeah, just on Sambi there. So can you see him potentially reigniting his Arsenal career? I mean, he's not really a number six anyway. He likes to go forward a bit more, but are you expecting him to be sold this summer or maybe loaned out again?
He's only got a year left, so I can't imagine they'll loan him out unless he signs another contract, which again I can't see. So I think the idea would be to sell him on a permanent basis. I mean, interestingly, he's been at Sevilla where he did well, and if you're in talks with Sevilla about potentially bringing a Gume over to Arsenal, is that something you could talk to them about? I mean, that's just purely hypothetical. It's not, but again, based on any information. But I think Sambi wants to go. He wants to play. He's gone out. He's had a few loan spells now. He's only got a year left on his deal. Like you said, he's not really a six, Sambi. He's more of a sort of eight type player. So no, I don't really see him coming into the equation as a possible replacement.